but there we go. Oh my gosh, and I have a broken package. Okay, let's get rolling here. We're gonna do some customization of this Kali box that we have made. First thing we're going to do is put in the password
here and log in. I actually have to click into the password spot.
There we go.
So now we're getting logged in, and it'll take a second.
All right, there's that nice Kali screen. Now you should be able to just go ahead and hit this maximize. There you go, and boom, there we go. We got our full size screen. Now that's not quite still full size. If we click on this little guy right here in our full screen mode, now we get the full desktop experience. And if you need to get out of it, put your mouse all the way up to the top, and this little bar will drop down, and you'll be able to click this guy to exit. But for now, we're good to go. So the first thing we're going to do is, now I'm in KDE. If you used one of the other desktops, you'll have to figure out how to open a terminal, but I'm sure it won't be hard. You're all geniuses. So let's click on the terminal here. There we go. And here is the terminal. Now I am going to adjust this guy so that it's a little easier for you guys to see. Okay, for those of you that were wondering, that was just Control+. All right, we're going to start doing some Linux commands here. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with these Linux commands, I'll take a little time and explain how they work. We won't go into super detail, but we will a little. So here we go. First thing we're going to do is we're going to update the system. So to do that on a Linux system, we're going to put sudo. That's the word you always have to put if you're going to run something as the root user. Sudo apt update. All right, and that's all we need. And it's going to make me put my password in. And there we go, it's updating. Now what this is doing is this is a system update to look for security patches, to look for patches to other different things. Now it's not actually installing them. All it's doing is updating to find out what's available. And then you can see here, 623 packages can be upgraded. So we are going to do that now. And the way we do that is we do sudo apt, and I'm going to put -y, because the -y means just yes. It means go ahead and run this. We're going to put upgrade in, and if I didn't put the -y, then when it was done estimating, it would come back and say like, are you sure? And but there we go. Oh my gosh, and I have a broken package. All right, I'm going to leave this recording, and what we're going to do here is this may be our first good example of how to use some AI tools to help us troubleshoot this. So I'm going to get in, okay, we're going to go to Perplexity. Okay, so for some reason, the copy paste is not working right now between these two. So we're going to use another trick. We're going to click on the Windows desktop, and then we're going to do Windows Shift S. And that gives us the ability to take a screenshot here, okay? Now that we have a screenshot, let's go back to Perplexity. Now I have pasted in the image down there.
Please help me fix this Kali Linux error.
And we'll see if it can help. All right, so it thinks that we've got a couple answers to try here. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to shrink this puppy down over here.
There we go, and we're gonna see if we can shrink this guy down over here so we can actually go back and forth between these two.
Okay, let's try these commands and see if we can get this to work. So we already updated, so we're gonna do sudo
apt fix broken install.
And it says it's fine. Sudo apt
Full upgrade. With a hyphen.
We didn't put the yes in, so it's asked us for the yes. And that seems to be working. Let's wait here and see if we're able to get our update to go. Just as a side note, this kind of thing can happen. Kali Linux is updated frequently. It's maintained by a small group of people, and occasionally there will be things that break. And you just got to go out online and search and figure out what is wrong. And when you do, you usually learn something. All right, so we are going to select Latin 1 and Latin 5. And then we're going to hit tab, which is going to go to the OK, and then we're going to hit enter. And now we're back to upgrading. The first thing we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at where we are at. So let's type print working directory. That's pwd. And when we do that, we see we are at home Knox. So that is the directory that we're currently in. If we put ls in here, that will just list the files. So we can see here, you can see all the files listed because I used ll. That's an alias, by the way. We'll talk about it later. And it gave us a list of the files with a little more detail. If I just put in ls, that just lists the files and it just puts them in a straight line here. If I put in ls-lah, those are called flags, by the way. If I do that, then now I get a lot of information because I told it that I wanted to have it listed. I told it I wanted to see all the hidden files, and I told it I wanted to see human readable numbers. If you notice, we go up here, it just says like 4096. Down here, because I put the H on, that gave me human readable, and I end up getting 4.0K. So that's some of those things, how that works. So we're going to make a directory now inside our home directory here, and we're going to name it repos. And we're going to need that. We're going to create repositories ourselves. We're going to download repositories from GitHub. So we're going to need that. So you can see here, right here, there it is. There's our repos folder that we just made. The other thing that we want to do is now we want to change directory. That's CD. Change directory into this repos folder. And now if we hit print working directory, like we learned about, we've got home Knox repos. So we're moving through the file system. Now in here, we're going to make one more directory, and we're going to call this one notes because we're going to want a notes directory in here. If I LL, so we can see now the only thing in here is notes. All right, now fun things that you need to know. Bonus. Here we go. So if we hit up, we see all the commands that we've run. See that? All the commands we've been running, they're all up if I hit the up button. And if I type history, I'm going to see all the commands I've run on this machine so far. So there you go. You can see that. I really wish someone would have showed me that sooner. I was learning Linux on my own, and so I didn't figure that out for a long time. But up, you get your commands you've already run, and history gets you a list of all the commands that you have run so far. One thing about that history command, it only saves after you exit your terminal. So we'll run into that later when we have more than one terminal running. Now what we want to do is we want to make sure that
First of all,
Python pip3 is installed on here already, and it is. We want to make sure that Git is installed on here already. Now I'm going to show you a trick. Sudo apt install Git. Guess what? You can install more than one thing at a time. Gasp. I know, crazy. btop, and here we go. So we have Git and btop are already installed. Let me show you what btop is. Btop is just a tool for monitoring your system. As you can see over here, it's going to show you your CPU. You can see I have a Ryzen 7 on here. It's really funny, even though this is a virtual machine, it still knows that the actual real processor on the base host is a Ryzen 7. We've only given it 8 cores, starting with 0 to 7, 8 cores, and it knows that. So interesting how it does that. We've also allocated 8 gig of memory, and it can see that 8 gig of memory. Remember, we gave this guy, I gave it a 40 gig hard drive. We can see how much is used and how much is free. We can see all the processes that are running. All right, and to get out of this, you just hit Control-C, and now we're back out. So we've created a repos directory, we've created a notes directory, LL, there it is. And now we need to make sure that Open SSH is installed, because by default, that is not installed. Now, I've already installed it on here, but you need to install it on here. So sudo
apt install open SSH server. See there it is.
By the way, the way I do that, if you hit the right arrow key, that's how you get it to complete a line like that. Once you say, oh yes, that is the line that I want to run, just hit the right arrow and you'll be able to run it. SSH is a service on Linux. So that means that we need to make sure that we check the status on it. And in my case, I've already started it. So if we hit Open SSH, it should show, yes, it is running. Now for you, you're going to want to do Open SSH system control, because that's how you control services in Linux, enable SSH. And in my case, it's going to say, you're crazy, it's already enabled, but it'll enable it for you. And what that means is that every time you reboot your system, SSH will be automatically started as a service. You will still need to run sudo system control start SSH, and that will start it for you. There's also restart, which we could do. Won't hurt anything. Restart SSH. That's a real command. And then lastly, we're going to look at status again. And we're going to see here that there we go. It's running, and we have SSH available to it. Okay, before we install the AI tool, I know I've been having trouble doing copy and paste from my base machine over to the Kali machine, and that's just always a pain in the butt. And that's one of the reasons why we're going to use Cursor. So we're going to go ahead and set up OpenSSH on your base Windows machine if you've never done that before, and that way we'll be able to connect to our Kali machine using Cursor. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Okay, so you're going to want to go to your start menu on your search button here on your Windows machine, and you're going to want to type in optional features. Okay, optional features, and then when you do that, you're going to go to add features, and you're going to type in SSH. Now you'll notice here when I do that, nothing comes up, but that's because I have already installed it. So if I go here to added features and put in SSH, you can see there is OpenSSH client and OpenSSH server. All you have to do is go into the add feature and tell it that you want SSH client and SSH server installed, and it'll work. All right, the next thing you're going to need to do is open PowerShell, and you're going to need to run it as an administrator. You should have this little blinky guy down here. Click on him, and then once you do that, you'll get him. Let me drag it over here from my multiple screens. Okay. Did this kind of out of order. I'm going to show you this first in the video, so you're seeing this first. You're going to have to create a SSH key. I've already done that, so I'm going to break out of here because I don't want it to overwrite the key that I already have. But you're going to put in SSH keygen, and you're just going to hit enter a couple times here. You don't need to put anything in. Just let it do its thing, and it will create a new key. And you'll be good to go. I guess what I could do is I'll do this. This way you can watch me do it. I'm going to do Okay, I forgot one more thing that we've got to do over here in our Kali box. So let's go back inside it. We need to change directory to back down one directory. There's two ways we could do this. We can put in ... and now you'll see, if you look carefully here, we went from the directory repos to this little, what is called the tilde here. And remember, if we do print working directory, that is our home directory. Print home Knox. That's our home directory. If we change all the way down to the base directory, which is just / and we do ll, then this is the root, what they call the root of our file system. I could change directory into home and then ll, and the only home directory in this machine is me because I'm the only user, and I could change directory Knox. But I change back to that base directory, and now I change directory and I use that tilde key, which is just underneath your escape key, by the way. If you do that, then there you go. Now it has changed. See, look, we went from home directory to the base directory, now back to home directory. So we're in the home directory now, okay? And what we need to do is we need to make a directory called .ssh. Don't know why this doesn't exist already inside Kali Linux, but for some reason it doesn't now in this newer version. And then we're going to go, and then I think that's all we have to do. We're going to try that and see if that works. Okay, and the next thing we have to do is we've got to do another new command called IPA. IP space A. And what this does is this is how we're gonna get our IP address. So you can see here is the IP address that exists for this machine. This machine is living at 192.168.61.128. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up here, this funky command, and this command will also be in the description. See here, in this case, my name is Knox. And I'm going to put the 192.168. What did I say right here? .61. Just move this over here. .61.128. And what this command is doing here is it's in Linux. It's very easy to copy a key from one machine to another, but it's not very easy with PowerShell. So there we go, and copy. Yes. Password. And there we go. We've done it. Okay. We're getting really close to the moment of truth. Down here, you'll see this guy for open a remote window. So you're going to want to click on him, and then you're going to want to connect to a host. And in my case, I am Knox at, and I've got that IP address over here, 192.168.61.128. And we're going to hit enter, and it opened another new window. And it is a Linux machine, so we're going to click Linux, and it's setting it up, and it's trying to connect. And the reason we did the SSH key copying is because if not, it tries to use a password and constantly asks you for your password, and that is just no fun at all. And so I'm gonna open this up bigger so we can see it, and sure enough, now I've got my terminal off to the side. I'm gonna have to change that for this. But here we are connected now to it. So if we go to open a folder, we can go to that, we see here, remember there it is, Home Knox, just like we looked at before. These are all the folders we had. There's that SSH folder we made. There's the repos folder, we want that. And then we're gonna go to that notes folder we made, and we're gonna click OK. And now, it's gonna ask what we're doing. We're Linux. And so here it is. We are now connected inside here. But here we are. So now we have notes, and you don't care about that command right there. We need to get rid of that. So there we go. Let's clear this. So now look, we have our terminal from inside our Kali machine here inside our cursor. So let me show you how this works. This is cool. So here's our Kali machine, right? And so now we're inside print working directory. It's what we learned. We change directory into repos, okay? And then we're going to change directory into notes, all right? Now if we come over here, we're going to click this guy to make a new file, and we're going to name this, we'll just name it notes .md for markdown. And now we have this notes file in here. Not a lot of room. We'll have to kind of try to get ourselves some room to work here. But if I go over here now and I do the ls, and we'll use the LAH, then there's the file we just made. There's the notes.markdown. So now we have our editor outside of our VM. And this is great because now it's going to be a lot easier to try to get things. And we've got a terminal over here, so for copying and pasting and things like that. Okay, so now we're going to install ShellGPT. The command will be down in the description. We're going to use pip to install it. I'm grabbing that command myself right now. Now, when I run pip, I like to use python -m/pip install ShellGPT. And it's going to install it. We can slide this up so we can get a little better look at what it's doing. You got all this red right here. Usually that's fine. I always check and just run the command again. And when I ran it the second time, notice everything's fine now. Pip gets a little bit, miffy about things sometimes for some reason. Let's see if it worked. So which SGPT, because that's the command you'll use for it, and it's not found. And what I ended up figuring out is that it is in, I'm going to look and then I'll come back here. All right, so I'm back, and here's the command you're going to want to run. You're going to need to run this. I'll have this command down in the description as well. You're going to export path, home, local bin, and this is putting it into your path for SGPT. Okay, next thing that you're going to have to do is you have to get an OpenSSH API key for this to work. And I will give you the link to that as well in the description, and you'll be able to go and set yourself up OpenAPI API key. If you don't have one yet, you really should have one. AI is really big. Learning how to use OpenAI APIs is going to be very helpful for you. All right, so this is how this works. You need to copy your API key from OpenAI. The first time you go to use SGPT in your command line, I'm going to say,
please introduce yourself.
Like that. The first time I run this, it's going to ask me to enter the OpenAPI key. Now, this is set up to be a password style field, and lots of people mess up and try to paste in here. And then when you paste in here, it does nothing. You can't see anything. So I'm going to do it right now. Copied my API key. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to paste. I did it. I right clicked on my mouse and it is there. And I'm going to hit enter and it worked. When you paste your key in, just trust it. If you hit the button 2 or 3 times or whatever, all you're doing is pasting it 2 or 3 times. And there you go. All right, now that that's over, look at what we've got. we now have GPT in your terminal. Look.
Hello, I'm ShellGPT, your programming and system administration assistant specializing in managing Linux systems, particularly Kali, and I'm proficient with the ZHS shell. Whether you need help with scripting, system configuration, troubleshooting, or blah, 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 I'm here to assist you.
And I think the reason is because I think it actually looks and finds out what kind of system it's on and tries to make the prompt use that information, which is super cool. So anytime we want to ask anything now in the command line, we can just do SGPT and ask. And if we do SGPT-S, now we're asking it to give us a command. So let's say that I want to
run an in-map scan on the top 1,000 ports on 10.100.10.100. And let's add one more thing. Output in, we'll say XML, because I'm pretty sure that's one of the formats.
And we hit this, and there we go. And so you can see it created the command for us. Nmap svox scan results.xml, that's the name of the file, and this is for the output xml, that's what that stands for. This is for that top 1,000 ports, and then here is the IP that we wanted to have as our target. And we can hit describe, and it will describe the command to us, which is again amazing, because now it's going to explain exactly what it means. Like the SV means to probe the open ports and determine. The OX is to scan the XML format and the target IP address, and it's like, would you like to execute it, describe it, or abort? We're going to hit abort right now, but this is going to come in really handy to be able to have this at our disposal to be able to use. It's going to make copying and pasting in and out through Cursor here really awesome. So I am so excited that we've been able to get this set up. I hope you were able to get it set up without any problems. Remember, AI is your friend if you start hitting snags on things. But once you get through this, we'll be ready for part 3. And in part 3, we are actually going to just jump right in and do our first box. And we are going to learn by doing.